Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Friday's daily devotion. I am Linda Black from South Canyon Lutheran Church, and it's really good to be back with you again. It's been a couple of weeks since I have recorded a devotion for all of you. I'm going to spend a few weeks looking at the Psalms. And first, I think we need to talk about why the Psalms are important to us. Yes, they are a book in the Bible. But I want to look at them in a different way because there are many different types of psalms within that book. The Psalms were the prayer book of the people in the temple for the Israelites. And they knew the Psalms very well because they read and they prayed them every week. And we know that Jesus knew them well because he quoted the Psalms a lot in his teachings and in his ministry. I want to share with you the Hebrew word for Psalms or the Psalter. It's tahilion, and that means praise. So when we think about that, that is what the Hebrew people called all of the Psalms, praise, to praise God. So they are including in that all of the hymns, the wisdom psalms, the laments, the praise, everything. They found that all to be part of praise to God. What that means is in the Psalms, we find every kind of emotion in our human experience. And those Psalms articulate that full range of emotion. And all of that, sad, happy, angry, no matter what, is praise to God. And I think it's important for us to remember that all of those emotions, no matter what we are feeling, is praise to God. So I want to begin today with the psalm hymns, the hymns of praise. They are important to us for several reasons. First of all, I think they provided a function for the Israelites, and they also provide a function for us. Because if we look at those hymns of praise, they give us a way to know and to understand God and to understand who we are as God's people. It makes us feel safe and secure because we see throughout history that God is always faithful to us. Even when we may not be faithful to God, God is always faithful to us. And that's means that it's reliable, that it's important to us, that we can always go back to that. Now, I want to share with you something that Walter Brueggemann said. He was a theologian in Germany, and he loved the Psalms, and he wrote about the Psalms. And he said that a hymn of praise affirms a well-ordered, no surprise, reliable world, an expression of creation faith, trust in God's order and God's faithfulness to us. Yes, and I think that's kind of what they express. But he also goes on to say that not all points of those hymns of praise, those psalms of praise, everyone experiences the same way. They don't have that same experience of creation faith. People who are experiencing food insecurity, any kind of economic insecurity, it's hard for them to find trust in that creation faith. So that creates a tension for us and a time when we need to think about what we as church are. We are here to be God's people in the world. And I think that's what the Psalms of praise point us to too. And I'm going to, in a few minutes, read our first psalm for today. It's Psalm 100, so you can take some time to look that up now. But I want to talk about the structure of those praise psalms. They begin with a summons to praise, calling on the people to praise God. And then they go to a motive or the reason for praising God. There are always many reasons. And then they close again with a call to praise God again. And usually they have to do with talking about God's character, God's power, and God's faithfulness to people throughout history. That is how we have learned about God and who we are as God's people. So I'm going to read Psalm 100, and I want you to, as you read it with me or as you listen, think about those structure and what you find here. This is a very well-known psalm. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness and come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord is God. It is he that has made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. For the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. So I think you can hear in that psalm that we have that psalm structure, psalm of praise structure. The call to praise, the reason we praise, and another call to close it out. And what have we learned about God? We know that the Lord is God. It is he that has made us. We are his. We are learning about our relationship to God here. We are the sheep of his pasture. That means we are his instruments in the world to do God's work in the world, to help all of those people who may not be able to understand and to feel this psalm the same way we do, to someday find that security within knowing God and their relationship to God. So I'm going to close again with the end of it. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. For the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. Take some time to read the Psalms and to find those hymns of praise within the Psalms. And while you do, enjoy your time getting to know God and your relationship with God. Have a great weekend, everyone.